Hey Truth Seekers, it's Nathaniel with another deck profile. Today I will be covering Aleks, Universal, Faith, and Hope. So to start off with, Aleks has the ability says as long as the total score is as long as your total score is less than 30 VP, you can have up to 5 Animo in your small group at a time. So I have 3 Faith Power cards, I have 3 Hope, and I have 3 Prayer. So I decided to build this deck focusing on using the variety that Aleks can provide while having 5 Animo in the small group. So my goal is to get a lot of points, which is going to eventually make Alex's effect kind of useless. Start off with our equipment cards. Got 2 Paul's Chains, and we have 2 Helmet of Salvation. Paul's Chain says, the animal to whom this card is attached may not be activated, but may be discarded any time during your setup phase. Once per turn, as long as this card is attached to an animal in your small group, you may search your deck for up to 2 level 1 animal and place them into your small group. If there is no room in your small group, this card has no use. And then I have 2 Helmet of Salvation says, when the animal to whom this card is discarded, discard this card and return the animal to your hand. So the way this card works is it also can't be attached to Ultra Animo. So you can attach this card to, say, Trusty level 2 from Fearless, and activate his ability to discard himself so that way you can draw 4 cards. Helmet of Salvation will kick, and Helmet of Salvation will go to your discard pile, but Trusty level 1 and 2 would go back to your hand. You play Trusty level 1, grow Trusty level 2, and you discard him. So that way you draw 4 more cards. And Paul's Change this is a helpful searcher. Moving on to our story cards, we have 3 of the Rich Fool and 1 Posmon Giant Killer. So the Rich Fool says, draw the bottom 3 cards of your deck. So it's just to help you plus cards. Basically, you're minusing 1 card in hand, which is this card, to plus 3 cards. And that's very important for this deck because this deck uses Quillo and Socro. So you're going to have a surplus of cards in hand, using your Trusty to draw cards, using the Rich Fool to draw cards, using Servitude to draw cards, using Hightail to draw cards, and you're just going to build up a really big hand that you can take 4 cards, put them underneath Quillo level 2, and you can still have at least 8 cards in hand, so that way you can activate Socro level 2 and gain the 16 virtue points off of him and the 16 virtue points off of Quillo level 2. Meanwhile, Giant Killer and Posmons are a way to handle Cinnies. Posmon says my opponent can't play a Cinny on me next turn, and Giant Killer says I can either play a Mega Cinny from my deck or return a Mega Cinny that's revealed against me and return it to the owner's deck. Alright. Next up is the Cinnies. I got Tokro. He prevents my opponent from activating any special powers, but he has a defense of 12. I have Flipper that says if your opponent has 40 or more points, this Cinny gets plus 10 defense by revealing this side instead. I got Grumble. He's a 13 defense Cinny. Zapper King, who prevents your opponent from playing any level 1 Animo from their hand next turn. Plant Trap Mega, who's a 16 defense Cinny. Zapper King Mega, who's a 16 defense Cinny, and Tokro Mega Plus, who's a 21 defense Cinny. Okay, as for the Animo that we're running 1 Poe Parade, so that way the actions of my opponent's Cinnies can't affect me. And that's going to take up 1 space that we have in our small group. We have 2 Servitude because we need to be drawing cards, and we run a lot of Faith and Hope Animo. So this ability says once per turn you may discard 1 card for each Faith, Hope, or Holy Spirit Animo in your small group. So that's going to take up another space, so I'll have 3 spaces available. I run 2 Flow Ultra in this deck because I don't actually need to run any Ultras for my main strategy. So even though having an Ultra just to get more points would be nice, Flow Ultra Search with its swap ability is a much more beneficial. So Flow searches my deck for up to 3 Animo and places them into my hand. And then I have Hoof It, who has the ability that says, if this card's in your hand, you may choose a discard. If you do, you may shuffle any 3 cards from your discard pile back into your deck, excluding this card. Then I run 2 Mayseal, and it's not because this is mainly part of the strategy, but because this is a Faith and Hope deck, I wanted to have some Fellowship bonuses in this deck. Moving on to our win condition for Faith, we have 3 Trusty level 1s, 2 Trusty level 2s from Fearless, and 1 Trusty level 2 from Red Letter Day. So the idea is that this Trusty has a universal cost in it, so it makes it easier to activate. And then I have Trusty level 2, so my goal is to discard this guy to draw 4 extra cards because I need a lot more cards in hand than normal. And then once I have hopefully both of these trusty lines in there, so I put 1, 2, 3, 4 trusties in my discard pile, I can activate this guy, and he says for each trusty in your discard pile, you may remove 1 cost to activate this Animo. So basically, he can become a cost of 0. But he loses 1 for each one, so if I at least have 1, he'll cost at least 1. And I don't use a whole lot of power cards when I do my big turns. So that's not necessarily a terrible thing. My other win condition is Quillo level 2. So this is the Faith Quillo. Quillo level 1, he's just a universal cost. But Quillo level 2 for Faith says, you may place up to 4 cards from your hand beneath this card and effectively out of play. When activated, this card earns 3 VP for each card underneath this one. Discard those cards when this card is discarded. So he can be he'll be a 12. He would be a 12 for 1 because you can put up to 4 cards underneath of him. It does not count this Quillo. So it's basically 4 cards underneath of him. And then he'll be 1, 2, 3, 4. So that'd be 3, 6, 9, 12. So it'll be 12 points. So I like him for that. And a 1 for 12 is one of the best values in the game. Then we have 1 Hoofed Ultra, just so I can search for power cards. I realized that I was originally running 2 Hoofed Ultras, but I only have 3 Faith power cards, so that kind of becomes redundant. Moving on to our Hope Animo, we got 2 Hightails. Hightail functions more of a story card. Basically has this retreat ability. It says, if this card's in your hand, you may choose to reveal it to your opponent and shuffle it back into your deck. If you do, draw 3 cards. So the idea is I'm just going to be cycling Hightail every turn if I can. So that way I can draw extra cards. And then we have 2 Swimmers. That way I can search for my standard power cards. Because every deck needs to have the ability to search for power cards. So between Hoofed Ultra and Swimmer, I should be able to find the power cards I need to play the game. Also, I have 2 Auroras. So Aurora is a card that has the ability, says while it's in your small group, it provides 1 hope power during your score phase. This card may not be activated in the turn this ability is used. So this card can kind of fill up my small group as well. I can use it as a power card because sometimes grabbing Animo is a lot easier than grabbing power cards. So what I could do is I could grab, use Flow Ultra to grab Aurora and a Swimmer, so that way I can activate Swimmer and grab a power card that I can actually use to activate my Animo. Alright, next up I have Flamingo level 1 and Flamingo level 2. I wanted to build a Faith and Hope deck, so I use this guy as a Fellowship bonus, and he's a 2 for 12, which is really good value. And finally, the main win condition of the deck, I have Socro level 1 and the Fearless Socro level 2. So this Socro level 2, he has the once per turn ability of Harvest. It says at the time this card is activated, it is worth 2 virtue points for each card in your hand, up to a total of 16. So, and he becomes a 2 for 16 if you get a big hand. So this deck is all about drawing a bunch of cards, activating Fellowship bonuses, and then using those cards in hand to power up Socro and to power up Quillo level 2. So that has been my Aleks Universal Faith and Hope deck. So in the meantime, True Seekers, keep learning virtues and defeating Sinnies.